we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Evening, everybody, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Those Edmonton Oilers, yes, 2 games away. We're coming back. We're going to take it in 7 over those stinking no good, ought to be tossed out of the NHL. Florida Panthers, no business playing, going up 3-0 on us. But can't be cocky, can't do that. Have to be chill, relaxed, and play it 1 game at a time, just like we're doing. All right. Way to go, my Oilers team. And we say hello to each and every one of you who are ready for Nicole Sakach tonight. We were going to have Patrick from Vetted on tonight. However, he's got a bad cold, cannot make it. We're going to reschedule him. Nicole is jumping in last minute to join us tonight. It'll be a fun show, to say the least. SJ's in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee are sharing the silver, with Race Fan taking home a bronze medal tonight. And who else we got? Roy Boy, Robert Lamoth, the lovely and talented Kira. Kira will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. Sorry, to the left of the studio. Chris 716, Brown Dwarf, Polly Rotterman. Good to have you all here. Hi, Les Paul Holland, Deer Slayer, Kathy Evans, Karen in the Woo Train. Nice to see you all. Rugged Source, Lee the Bee, and Mama Catherine. Mwah! Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. Thank you for being so special. All right, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, gorgeous ABWC. Nice to see you both. Noble Patrick, nice to have you back. And who's next on our list here? It is, scrolling on down, it's little Timmy in the backwoods. Yes, it is. Little Timmy in the backwoods. There he is. Look at that beautiful man right there. All right, Nina Williams, how you doing? Nice to see you. Baletti, my man. And Paramarv, nice to have you all here. Number 29 in your program, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Ozzy, nice to say hello to you. And Thomas Rock, good to have you here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Continuing on, Digger Dog, good to have you here. Digger Dog will be signing autographs after the show as well. Light up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Good morning, Skip to Malou. Hope you're having a good day. And who is next here? Phil the Stalker. Morning, Castle Dude. And who's next? Daniela, nice to have you back. Scrolling on down, Operation Shutdown, and the gorgeous and amazing Kim Jellin. Kim Jellin. Third Rock, how you doing? Jamie Johnson, good to see you. Richard Elmore, Damian K., thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call, Zachary Allen, thanks for coming on in. Jay Truther, how you doing? And DB Nobody, good to see you again. Algaray over on Twitch calling Oilers in 7. He gets a special autograph signing just for that. All right. He'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up in the center of the studio. In the center of the studio. And I know he's fist pumping. Yeah! Right now. He totally is. All right. Kurt M., good to see you. Rocket Rory, Melvin from Mars. Thank you all for coming on in. And B, nice to see you. And Buckethead, the soothsayer. How you doing, buddy? Hi, Christine Lynn. Good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. And Ramona Lisa, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Scrolling on down, Michael Fontaine, Ant-Man, how you doing? Obi Flett, holy cow, Obi Flett is here. Where have you been hiding, dude? You get engaged and all of a sudden you disappear? Night Watch, nice to see you. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, as we have Nicole Sakach on to talk some UFO stories with us tonight as we await the arrival of Bill WD-40, who's been silent this week. Silent. Hope he's okay. Woo-poo, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, Mac Geek, it's been a couple weeks. Good to have you back. Paul Demon, Warden Dragon, nice to see you both. As we continue on with our roll call here. And Susan goes, time traveling Caucasian, how you doing? Supernova, thanks for coming on in. Hey, everybody. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do, just like little Timmy Senor right there. Thank you, Tim. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Do me a favor, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. You'll do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a fantastic show of UFOs tonight. Researcher and author Nicole Sakach will be here talking everything from UFO transparency to managing magic, part 86. I think that's where Grant Cameron is right now. But then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Tales Untold will join us for another creepy story. From there, Jackie Harmon comes in with the Crypted Report. Now, originally, we were going to have Patrick Alexander, who has a very popular YouTube channel called Vetted on the UFO subject. However, he fell ill. And sometimes that happens with guests. So I gave my friend, Nicole Sakach, a phone call. Said, hey, what are you doing? She's like, you want me to come on, don't you? I said, yes, I do, because Patrick is ill tonight, just cannot go. And she's like, I'll step in. I've got no plans tonight. I can talk some UFOs. So she's dropping the gloves with us tonight to go for it. Now, Nicole is not only a very reputable and respectable researcher of the topic of ufology, she's more than just a cook. As that's a personal joke between her and I. So that's not an insult towards what she does or anything like that, because she was actually a very, very good chef at one time. But she's also an experiencer. She's like you and I, want to know what's going on, who's holding the secrets, and what's the countdown to any type of UFO disclosure. Nicole Sakach, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm wonderful tonight. Am I muted?
No, you're good.
I'm not. All right.
For once, you didn't mute yourself coming into the show. I appreciate that.
Filthy warned me right before we came on air. He was like, hey, Nick.
Don't forget to unmute yourself.
That's it. Just, hey, Nick.
That's exactly what she does. All right. So here we have you here. And, you know, it's almost like a calm before the storm. You know, maybe it's the beginning of summer. And, you know, is it the dull days of what's going on in ufology right now, Nicole?
It might be. I think we had this same feeling last year. It was right before Grush's big hearings. So that same sort of feeling is in the air of what is about to come. Anytime it kind of goes like the sea is all calm, I think the pirates get a little nervous. So, yeah, we had two big conferences over the last couple weeks, and chat is coming out from those. People are sharing their experiences and the lectures that they heard and people they got to speak to. So that's still happening.
It's funny because, we are in conference season.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, people in Radio Land, there is a UFO, cryptid, and paranormal conference season. It usually runs from the end of April till the end of October once Halloween ends. And then
Mhm.
we get a little bit of peace and quiet for a few months before doing it all over again. Contact in the Desert just ended about a week and a half ago. And that's the big one that everybody likes to attend. There's literally about 4,000 or 5,000 people that show up for that. The way I look at all of this is the UFO discussion is still preeminent, considering there is not much news coming out, even from news outlets like News Nation, who have been all over this story. Are we all waiting to hear whether or not there's going to be more hearings in July that were hinted at by a few senators and Congress people? Or are we just, waiting for the summertime to take off with a bunch of new news and allow the people who usually break the news to get back on their horse and get the news out there?
Um, the activist side of the community that I know tends to never take downtime. They're always connecting behind the scenes, whether it's speaking with experiencers or contactees or what some would consider whistleblowers or informants, if you want to put it that way. Um, Down to maybe not even disclosure, but just continuously working on their ongoing research and ways to expand that and reach an audience with it as well. I think we're in a strange time with things being in flux. You last Friday brought on some of the ex spacers, and you got to have a great conversation with them about sort of these new versions of the ufology community. And I think one thing that's continuous with each version is who remains after all the dust settles, and that seems to me to be the people that continuously and consistently do work and continue to hone their research. You never stop, you never give up, you never have all the answers. So, yeah, when it seems like there's no news breaking, people are still busy. So, I don't really know what defines news. So, is it just the disclosure talk? Is that the only kind of news we're searching for?
Well, I
Make
think that all mainstream media is really covering these days is
Mhm.
the fact that, they're wondering, waiting for more hearings because that's the real news angle of it for the public. But there is something I wanted to chat with you about to kind of kick things off, and it does lead to our show from earlier, which was about Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, pardon me. Yes, I'm old school. I still haven't fully uh, connected myself to the letter X over years of Twitter, many of you. But these X spaces are becoming extremely popular. I mean, I see UFO X spaces getting anywhere from 300 to 1,500 people in a conversation listening to what's going on, about anything from UFO whistleblowers like Jason Sands, who is using the platform to get his message out, to everybody just talking about experiencers or what's going on with disclosure and everything. They are gaining a lot of popularity because I think people, after years of texting and typing on a keyboard, they are tired of their fingers being worn out and have decided to bring that UFO voice into real time.
Mhm.
You're a big fan and proponent of these, even though it is sometimes like a wild card matchup at a WWE Royal Rumble. But you're a big fan of these. How come?
I am now. It's been a long road, I think, to find or not to find, like, when did I first start talking to you about spaces? Has it been about 3 years, 2 years?
It's been, you've really got into it probably the last 9-10 months, but we
Yeah.
started chatting about it about a year and a half ago.
Well, I remember first joining some and not, and I feel like I was the last one to join UFO Twitter, that community that gained the hashtag and sort of used it as a tool to spread information. And we discussed the UFO young guns, often. Like, Grant laughs that he coined this term for some of these emerging younger researchers out there that were utilizing social media. And I think, there was some hesitant on my part to join that sort of community because I looked at it as another version of like Facebook. And there were some solid groups finally, after years within Facebook. And then we kind of saw these pockets of like Discord servers and private, YouTube channels and things, all this emerge. And it was good. I think it made a lot of people have a fan base and then pockets of communities, even like your audience here, the Space Travelers Club, and how they cross over with some other podcasts, and it's a home, for a while there, you could bounce from YouTube chat room to YouTube chat room to YouTube chat room. Well, the Twitter action kind of happened, and then they brought along these spaces where you could put your voice, behind more than just words on a keyboard. And I think it was kind of cathartic in a way, instead of people spending the time to shoot off multiple texts and get a point across, you could use your voice and you could hear inflection and tone and not have to send emojis or things like that. But it took a while to find cohesive spaces that seemed to have a flow, I guess, instead of just dropping elbows or being on the attack or the constant debating is a nice way to put it. I don't like to say it's arguing because I think, that sounds like people are meaning to be malicious on purpose. So, yeah. And then there were a lot of crummy ones, I would say, to where it's like they would go off topic and you wouldn't realize what they're really discussing, or it would be more personal drama. But there were these nuggets every once in a while where you would come across experiencers sharing their stories, and that was special. So I'm glad as a tool it didn't get dropped right away. And I'm glad people continued to host these spaces and try to make them better. But you know what it's like to host a panel discussion with even 2 people to 3 to 4 to 5 people. So then imagine opening that up. It's even more open than like a call-in on the Art Bell show. That's still one person at a time with a huge audience, but trying to filter and manage in people to have a constructive conversation or dialogue or debate, that's happening more frequently now than it ever has with the spaces. And I know I'm not the only one paying attention because, you're starting to hear not just monetization, but people are trying to figure out how to cash in on it, I guess you could say, as they do with any sort of free form platform when there's something to it, and that's what I think's happening. I want to be at the forefront of that instead of going, oh, it took me 6 years to join X, which is now Twitter or now X. They still say formerly Twitter.
The one thing that I have noticed about these spaces, and the one thing I do like about them, even though I still think X is a little bit of a cesspool when it comes to this topic, I do like the fact that there's a lot more experiencers coming out and feeling brave to talk about their encounters. I know you're very pro experiencer of the UFO phenomena and the alien abduction phenomena. I am too. And these people are mostly people who've never had their story told, never had their voices heard, and they feel, because this topic has taken off, they feel brave enough now to come on out and actually share their encounters with the unknown. I think this is fantastic for this community, and that it's added almost a level of safety that experiencers never really had before, outside of maybe a private group on Facebook or a online forum.
Or like what I experienced personally, you would have to go online, search for possibly a local meeting or gathering or some sort of meet and greet, and then you'd have to wait, and then you'd have to go, and then you'd have to get up the courage to even say anything when you're in a group of people, So yeah, sort of having it instantaneously these days, I think, is definitely a good tool. You get people and they're comfortable, they're in their home, they're in their safe space already. So if they can utilize the platform in positive ways, I think that is probably one of the biggest experiencer motivators that I do hear from fellow experiencers. We all get the message or feel that calling that we have to share our experience. After so long, you can't just keep it to yourself. So, and if you can just reach one person, sometimes that's all that matters. One person.
You have participated in numerous of these events now on X. How do people find them? I think this is for a lot of our radio audience who may not be familiar with these spaces. How do they go and find them when they're not listening to SOR?
You can go into your account, and in the menus, there's spaces. So if you click on that across any chat genre, it'll pull up all the spaces that are currently live. So of course, with algorithms, it's kind of tailored to your likes and interests and people you follow, or topics, as algorithms do, they'll push things your way. But yeah, if you follow people in the community that host these spaces and join in on them, then you can follow them and get alerts. So anytime they host a space, it'll say join their space, and you can easily find it. If not, like on my tablets, not my laptop, my tablets, it scrolls across the top, so you can kind of like swipe. If there's multiple spaces happening at once, you can swipe through and see who's hosting or who's joined or who's talking. So yeah, it's fun.
I have tuned into a few of them. And I got to admit, as much as I do this show on a nightly basis, Nicole, I'm a little nervous on that because it is a different crowd, and the crowd can speak to you and everything. And it's hard to kind of get used to judging or how to host one of those.
Right.
You've hosted a few now. What's that like?
It's nerve-wracking, honestly. You do need kind of a good co-host. And there's something with the application itself. You can add a couple co-hosts, and the more co-hosts you have, the more people you can bring up as speakers, or you can remain a listener. So sometimes you have to cycle people in and out to let more people join, and that takes some, skill. It's kind of difficult for one person to do, but it kind of keeps who can join the discussion smaller and more manageable. So if you have 2 hosts and 2 or 3 co-hosts, you can have up to like 15 speakers, something around there is where I've seen. And some rooms are more like an open forum where you don't have to raise your hand to speak. You can kind of jump in with parts of the conversation that you feel necessary. And I think those can get a little heated and elevated. They move pretty fast. And if you're not paying attention, you can't necessarily tell who is speaking. So that kind of gives opportunities to get, I guess, trolled in a certain way, because people can just jump in. And I think what happened to me once is I was mid-sentence and somebody blasted out a fart noise.
Oh, nice.
I know, which, all in good fun, that I appreciate a good fart joke every once in a while. But this person was just trying to be disruptive, kind of to the entire room.
Right.
And good hosts cycle those people out or mute them relatively quickly, and everybody has a good joke or whatever, it moves on. Other chat rooms, other spaces, I think, have developed more of an etiquette where people will raise their hand. They know they'll get the chance to ask one question or maybe grandstand for a minute or two. And if they want to keep it going, they'll drop down and then they'll raise their hand again. It's sort of like an unspoken code. That's what's kind of neat. You're seeing like civilities emerge and even lingo alongside, like how I said people need to drop down and get brought back up, that they've coined it recycling. Like you get recycled back up into the conversation. So yeah, there's fun lingo happening. I like that.
Well, you know what? I think they have become an important part of ufology to help the conversation going, because a lot of people can start podcasts and do everything. And what are the first thing they do? They recycle through every same guest who tells the exact same story. And that's not a shame on the guest or anything like that. But I just find that very interesting.
Well, okay. One of the first ones I really started engaging in, and a lot of the phenomenon conversations would shift to music. And so I started talking about a few people that are still on like my top 5 list of musicians that I would love to talk to. And I just so happened to be talking about the band Creed. And like a couple people were like, "You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this." Well, like the lead singer of Creed was actually in the discussion, and he came up and started talking. And yeah, and he even sang like a line or two of "Arms Wide Open." I was just like, "Oh my God, this just happened in a space." So yeah, I mean, there's much like that excitement I felt to find fellow ufologists and researchers online to begin with, like even on Facebook. But yeah, to be live in a space with somebody who's famous, like that was a lot of fun for me. And apparently he had joined several of these spaces and, had a back and forth with some of the hosts and people that joined and felt comfortable to talk about his music and his experiences. And
It's funny about Scott Stapp is he was one of the lead singers in one of Art of Anarchy with Bumblefoot. Our music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. There's moments like that.
I love it when musicians come out as experiencers. We see Fred Durst coming out with his UFO podcast. He recently interviewed Geraldine Orozco regarding it.
That's pretty cool.
And, we know Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, it claims to be an abductee. Sammy Hagar, another one. And there's a bunch of songs from Megadeth's Hangar 18 to Van Halen's Love Walks In, Flock of Seagulls, I Ran So Far Away. There's a lot of music that's tied. We got to do a music show one day on this.
We could. I tried to once on Facebook, and it was really hard.
Yes. Hold that thought, because we are going to go to break here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Nicole Sakach coming back. When we return from Spaced Out Radio, more music and UFOs, as well UFO disclosure now changing to UAP transparency. Let's get into it next on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned, everybody.
Is that new music? I liked it.
I put in a bunch of new music a couple months ago
I
when I
like that.
accidentally erased all of my audio.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Whoopsie. Hey, I'm gonna let the Beast Buster back in.
You go. I got to say hello tonight to Contrary One. Nice to see you. And Big J, good to have you here. Mike Bothwell, Susan Ahern, nice to see you all. PK Turtle Dove, thanks for coming on in. And who else is next?
May I say something, Dave?
Of course you can, Dirty Filth.
It's Sir Bothwell.
Oh. Hey, what did you think of that hockey game tonight, Dirty?
It was an exceptional win for the good team. And they apparently have a lot of shorthanded goals.
Yeah.
Connor Brown has the second most in the finals ever. So that's interesting. And McJesus guy is apparently overtaken that Gretzky guy for scoring in sports and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, I love McJesus. Oh, love him. Hold on, I gotta open up the window in the studio here. There we go. There we go.
Did you gas yourself, Dave?
What's that?
Did you gas yourself?
No, I wish I did. But it gets warm in here in summertime.
Aren't you in the basement?
What's that?
Aren't you in a basement of some sort? Like a
yes,
ground level thing? It's not a big act. No, I should.
Yeah, but the amount you got to realize, I got a lot of computers and equipment working here.
How many synthesizers have you got?
One in the other room.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a microKORG.
Let's get the Sage going. There we go. There we go. Really set the mood right there. Big smoke cloud coming in. Hold on.
I had to get the missus some cream for her tea, and then my pal Barb was sauntering out of Safeway at the same time, and she goes,
so I decided on something, Dirty. You know how my Bigfoot light keeps going on?
yes.
I'm going to set up a trail cam in my office.
Good luck.
I want to know what keeps turning on that light. I do.
Maybe it's the hitchhiker effect, Dave.
Could be.
Remember when my light did the same thing, and I every time it was on my back porch, and I was like, it's on again. It's on again. And the thing had a button. It didn't even have any sort of you could accidentally turn it on sort of thing. Like William was short then. He couldn't reach it.
Right.
And then it just stopped.
I think it may be ethereal aura from when I moved the guitar, because it started after I moved the guitar here, or from here to here.
What is ethereal aura? I don't even know what that is.
That's my listener who passed away in 2021.
Oh, okay. So like a presence.
February 25th, 2022.
I didn't expect to hear a who. I expected to hear a what. But okay,
No, that was his chat room name, and he had a lot of health problems, and he lived in the Netherlands and chose a doctor-assisted way out. And he came on in his final 8 hours of life. Because he was with us almost every night, he came in to say goodbye to us. So I put a little sticky note on the guitar. It said, when you're ready, from the other side, come to the studio here and move it. And it actually moved the a couple months later, after he passed, the sticky note that was tucked pretty tough between the keys, or not the keys, the strings, actually moved.
Didn't one night it float down?
That night it floated down. I accidentally hit it.
Okay, that didn't count then.
Well,
what about Butch? What about Butch?
Butch sometimes comes in here. King of Waco Mundo, how are you? We've got about 19 seconds, guys. A big thank you to Tim, Joe, Big Dog, Cat Chaser, Dutch Hank, and Obi Flett for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. And here we go, everybody, in 3 seconds. Hello and welcome to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Is your favorite musician an alien abductee? We'll get into that with Nicole Sakach momentarily. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on every major podcast network and on YouTube. Just hit subscribe or follow. That's all I want in return. I think that's a pretty fair deal. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Nicole Sakach is here. We're talking UFOs, and right before the break, we were talking about musicians involved in ufology.
Yeah, you rattled off quite a few, and whether it's a UFO encounter or some other high strangeness encounter, life after death. Yeah, I think that creativity, whether it's painting or sculpting, music's definitely my favorite artistic expression of the phenomenon. And you brought up Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. I would love to ask him about the Black Parade song. I love that one.
Okay, I pulled up a list of songs since the 1940s about UFOs. You know what the first one on record is?
Oh, there are some really early ones, honestly, that you would be stunned by, but I'm terrible with names and artists.
I'll read off some of the list because this is going to be fun. 1947, less than a month after the Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting, which started the flying saucer era, the Buchanan brothers wrote a song called When You See Those Flying Saucers. How fun is that? In the 1950s, there was The Flying Saucer, Parts 1 and 2 by Bill Buchanan and Dickie Goodman. My Flying Saucer by Woody Guthrie. How about this one? You'll all know this one. The Purple People Eater. All right. Jerry Lee Lewis had a song with Bill Lee Riley called Flying Saucers Rock and Roll. Ella Fitzgerald. I remember how beautiful Ella Fitzgerald's voice is. Oh, if you ever need to just chill and relax with a nice glass of wine or scotch or something, put on some Ella Fitzgerald. She was just amazing. She sung a song called Two Little Men in a Flying Saucer. In the 60s, a couple songs by Pink Floyd, Let There Be More Light, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. Creedence Clearwater Revival, It Came Out of the Sky. UFO by Jim Sullivan, but it's the 70s, Nicole, that really took off. After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. Covered by the Carpenters, Klaatu's song, Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft.
I love that one.
Longer Boats by Cat Stevens.
Yeah.
Elton John's I've Seen the Saucers. Silver Lights by Sammy Hagar. Children of the Sun Billy Thorpe. The 80s was pretty good. I Ran by A Flock of Seagulls. I mentioned that one. Caught in a Crossfire by Canadian band April Wine. Van Halen's Love Walks In.
That's special.
Fire of Unknown Origin, Blue Oyster Cult. Love Walks In is my favorite song about UFOs because literally it is Sammy Hagar breaking down his entire UFO contact with, I believe he called her a seventh dimensional being. There she stands in the silken gown, silver light shining down. And then you sense a change. Nothing feels the same. All your dreams are strange. Love comes walking in. Love it. You can hear him singing that in your head when you just read the lyrics.
You can.
All right.
I play this game usually just straight up by the alphabet. Like people don't realize. So it's like, give me a letter of the alphabet.
I had no idea about this one. John Lennon's Nobody Told Me. I didn't know about that one. I had no idea.
Yoko has actually created a lot based on their shared experiences and her own. Everybody forgets about Yoko.
Very true.
Flaming Lips. Of course, Fleetwood Mac. Who else do we have here? Tito Fernandez. That's just F's. Jerry Garcia.
Let's
Elvis.
see. Blue Oyster Cult's Fire of the Unknown Origin. Or Fire of Unknown Origin. Aliens Exist by Blink 182.
Can't forget Blink 182.
Do not do that. Spaceman by Biff Naked.
Janet Jackson, LaToya Jackson, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Jamiroquai. It's one of my favorites.
How about Rob Zombie's Blanking in a UFO? And Katy Perry, who I love and adore, had a song called E.T.
Totally.
Love her. Spaceship by Kesha. Whatever happened to Kesha's UFO show? Did that even get off the ground?
I don't know, but she's got a few songs, I think, that encompass, that's what it's never just one song. You might find the one that's obvious, but then listen to the whole album and you're like, whoa. Yeah, and Dave Matthews Band. That's another one on my top 10 list.
Nice.
Probably die if I got to speak with the band. Bob Miller, Madonna.
What one was Madonna's song?
Let's look. She's got like many pages here. Look at this research, live research.
Live research as we speak. This is how it works, people.
Right here.
This is literally right now. You are hearing one of Nicole's and my phone calls in all hours of the night where we talk
right here at the woo desk, the woo at the weird desk.
You got that right. Apparently, according to Little Timmy in the Backwoods, Sammy Hagar does live host chats on Instagram and loves talking UFOs. That we should invade that one day. That would be great. Who sang Come Sail Away? That's another one. Well, while you're looking for that, music seems to have a very profound effect on the UFO world. I would love to see a UFO concert series. And let's not forget the band UFO, 80s rock, hair metal, band UFO. They were pretty good. Are you still looking for that Madonna song?
Well, it's like folded in with a couple other people's stories. It's about creating music for the movie Scream, actually, and some of quite a few of them had some paranormal experiences along the way. And yeah, there was some unexplained gravity-defying special effects during the Billboard Music Awards, and Madonna and the Foo Fighters, Sheryl Crow, and Jamiroquai all witnessed this activity.
Oh, cool.
So that's not a UFO sighting, but she's got like 6 other pages here in this book. So I'll see if maybe she did.
Yeah, Sticks, come sail away. Sticks. Thank you, Shaq Valet, in the chat room. All right, let's move on to another topic here, because I do want to get to this one. And I am very curious your thoughts, because for at least the last 3 years, Nicole, you have heard me tell the SOR audience, both as a guest and online and to our audience out there, that we literally need to realize we are not in a disclosure movement. We are in a confirmation of the phenomena movement. You've been quite in agreement with that. Many others over the years have kind of moved towards that level of understanding about it. And we're talking people who are staunch about the UFO disclosure coming from the US government. Well, Richard Dolan, famed researcher, did a podcast the other day acting like it was a brand new subject on how the UFO world has changed from UFO disclosure to UAP transparency. Now, you know how I feel about the term UAP. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Refuse to use it, even though it slips out of my mouth sometimes. Just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But how did we go from UFO disclosure to UAP transparency in your mind?
I think somebody decided disclosure is the wrong word, or that disclosure was asking for too much. And so the lingo changed. And transparency gives more wiggle room, I think. Just like, I don't know if it's to get rid of the stigma or the ridicule, like people say. Like, I should say, like people say, it was Hillary Clinton on Jimmy Kimmel. And she was like, well, Jimmy, they're called UAP now. But she looked all wild when she said it. She was like, yeah, she did the Sullivan nod. That's like a subliminal, like, yes, you're going to adopt this new phrase and terminology. That was to make it more accessible, but it was also called unidentified aerial phenomenon then. So we see this shift in lingo, and we have to question the intent. Is it to modernize it? Is it to drop the stigma? Is it to make it more accessible? Everything we just ticked through. Is it a game? Because within these word games is that wiggle room where the games are played. Like the Air Force saying, well, if we're talking about vehicles that are operating in space, so that's not really our territory, So we had to rework lingo to try to satisfy the Air Force into giving us some data, which I don't think they ever did. But, just like program names, SAP names, if they get exposed, they close, they change names, they reemerge. Funding, same way. So, UFO disclosure, that guided us to a certain point, but then I think apparently wasn't good enough. Was it the UFO part? Was it the disclosure part? Transparency, that's asking for something completely different. That's transparency of what? You know, the data that they have, the transparency of the process. You know, got to ask those questions.
I think we have to ask a lot of questions out of it, because I think the attitude is shifting. I think it also goes to the fact that a lot of people are really, especially people who've been researching this for a long time, are starting to realize this is an ugly game and it's a long haul game. I mean, we're still first and 10 on the 3-yard line of our end of the field right now, and there's 97 yards to go. I mean, that's literally where we're at.
Mhm.
We're not at midfield. We're not going for a touchdown here. And the more people are pushing, the more resistance the government side, who has the power, is really controlling this entire subject. I'm actually kind of excited about the whole idea that we're getting out of UFO disclosure, because I've never thought it was going to happen. Disclosure the way I want it. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that I'm the be all and end all, but to me, the word disclosure is disclose everything. What happened at Roswell? I don't care about the technology that they're hiding at Area 51 and other places like that. What I want to know is about UFOs. I don't care about the next 5th generation jet fighter that they're going to build with this, or whatever, the SR-75 stealth aircraft that Michael Schratt talks about. As much as I'm an aviation nut regarding this kind of stuff, it's not focused to me on UFOs. Don't care about the technology. I want to know what's happened. It'll open up a lot of different doors. What happened, with the D Glock? What happened with the Vril? What happened with Bob Lazar? What happened with Eisenhower? What happened with David Adair, Betty and Barney Hill, and all of these different cases that have caught the attention of the government over the years? Never mind local locations, like we know where Grant Cameron is in the province of Manitoba. Manitoba, for some reason, has a bunch of eyes on it about UFOs that people have no clue, even in the province, have no clue that a lot of these UFO sightings across North America all start in Manitoba. It's strange. Why is that happening? Why do they have satellites watching this? There's a lot that goes on. To me, that's disclosure, Nicole. Not this, we're going to control it as a threat narrative. We're going to control the message. We're going to control the media. That's not disclosure whatsoever. To me, that's confirmation.
Well, that's sculpting a narrative. That's
Absolutely.
controlled disclosure, or disclosure with a little d, and everybody wanted the big D. I think with this confirmation that you say that we're in, it's going to sneak up on us. I think it'll be in more ways like these. I think it will continue to be a grassroots movement. Like, what did I send you the other day? Piedmont, Missouri. Is that the capital of the UFO capital of Missouri?
Right.
And that was something that their town started to celebrate, and they worked towards that. That was a grassroots movement. And yeah, so at a local level, I think that stuff will just build. I think it'll sneak up on us when we realize that maybe there are UFO courses offered in at university level and college level. Like we're seeing it sneak into academia.
Does it need to be in academia to get more understanding? And who are the academics teaching this? How are they qualified to be teaching this?
Well, and it's going to be a learning curve, I think. But isn't it awesome? Like, think of our friend, Dr. Michael Masters, and the classes that he teaches, and how he's kind of said, he's taken opportunity as he could to discuss this with his students. Well, I think we're going to see true courses around ufology, or maybe paralleling socio-political courses, psychology courses, law enforcement courses, how to deal with experiencers and contactees. Like, I do think we're going to see that rolled out. I took note, I think it's been 3 years now. It was the first time I had heard a university announce publicly that they were going to offer a UFO class. And that university was in Germany. So I think we'll start seeing that in the States. Masters works out of Montana. We have Harvard engaging in research, MIT as well. So I think we'll continue to see that.
Well, I think that, the whole disclosure movement has been blown so out of proportion since the arrival of the Stars Academy back in 2017 that I think that that's really spurred on a lot of this new ufology and new ufologists who've come into the field without any history of what's gone on in the past. And they've kind of, because of their awareness of social media and everything, they've kind of blown the whole UAP topic out of the water. And to credit to them. Credit to them for going further and taking this subject a little bit further than we'd ever gone before. But I guess what I'm saying is they put a lot of faith in the voices that were being talked about back then, the voices who were doing the talking back then. And we're still really 3 videos in, 7 years later, and we're nowhere further outside of maybe David Grush. We're nowhere further than where we were back then.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want me to go with this? I mean, like with TTSA, yes, they raised the awareness, and they wanted that. They wanted Tom DeLonge to do what he did. They wanted him to reach a younger audience and expand this. Much in the way, I don't think it was planned, but the show Ancient Aliens really spoke to a generation of ufology people, by making it okay to have water cooler talk, and by being as successful as a show as it has been. Is that the seeding of a new version of ufology? Is that a narrative? Did they want to shift the acceptance? The giggle factor is a lot. Grant even says, for ufology to move on, or it moves on with every death of the gatekeeper generation, So with them cycling out, we do need that influx of younger ufologists and younger people in the community. And they are getting overwhelmed with this information, whether it's coming from online or television or movies. Like that's the medium that's reaching the largest audience. So we're tired of it being sugar-coated. I think that's what we who've been at it for decades now have been through reiterations of this, whether it was Tom DeLonge or Tom DeLonge and company supporting and trying to push out Chris Bledsoe's story, or Eric Mitchell's story, or Joe Firmage's story, or the story of Skinwalker Ranch before it was Fugles. Like, there's been a lot of intentions over the years. I think the intention in the Bigelow years of the ranch was to get this information out,
That thought right there, because when we come back from the break, I do want to get into the transparency side of this, because in my opinion, the word transparency, if you're in the UFO world, should be your new trigger word. It really should be your new trigger word, much like Lou Elizondo or Steve McCreech. One of the two. Spaced Out Radio, Hour 2 with Nicole Sakach as our guest. Coming up right after this. Stay tuned, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I like that one.
Yeah. There's more where that came from. How about Shaq Valet here? Everyone wants the Big D, Sakach 2024.
Big D disclosure.
I'm not going to lie.
Okay, so you talk about funny moments and spaces, right? So I was in one, it's been a few weeks now, but we were talking about Big D disclosure versus Little D disclosure. And it was completely in the middle of the night, so people were being goofy and silly. And yeah, somebody brought up that they're like, Big D disclosure. It's more like limp dick disclosure.
Right.
And I was like, or more like the ever elusive female orgasm disclosure, like just keeps getting pushed back and not happening. Like, you know, that's kind of what disclosure is at this point to me. It's just like, it's never going to happen. Just stop.
Where'd Blob go, Filth? Where'd Blob go?
Blob alert. Blob alert.
Hold on. She's
There
struggling
she
away here.
is.
Blob alert. Blob alert. Whoop, whoop, whoop. God, I love
There
that.
she is. Look at her just totally just sit right on the painting. I don't know if she likes that one.
It's too bad. It's
I'll be right back, guys.
You'll be right back, he says. Everybody's going to be right back. Good. Now I can ramble for a couple seconds.
I'm still here.
Oh, hi.
I'm ogling your blobbage.
You can listen to me ramble here. So anyways, I know there's not a lot of people in Edmonton, but if you are at Edmonton between July 12th and 14th, you can go down to the White Avenue and stop at Checkers Pizza and get a sliced pizza. I'm not affiliated with them, and you'll never hear this, but just get a sliced pizza from them. They're good. Anyways, and then come visit me and buy a whole bunch of my artwork so I can buy more pizza. Yes. That's that. Also,
know how you guys do it, Filthy. Like, do you guys cut your slices really wide, like New York style, and then fold it in half to take a bite? Or is it like a small wedge and no fold, single bite?
well, it's Edmonton, so there's not very many slices of pizza by the slices places. So they just do the like 8 slices for large and charge you like $2 for it. And
yeah. Do you fold it? Do you fold your
if you go there, sometimes you have to fold it to get it in and everything. So
exactly.
But they're good pizza. But anyways, they'll be there. I'll be there, and there'll be lots of cartoons, original artwork to purchase, and I'll probably just be sitting there drawing cartoons the whole entire time.
I love it.
Let's see what else is going on here. Black cats, a ginger cat. Yeah, I got an orange boy. He's right there. Well, you can't see him, but he's right there. He's not very smart. He hasn't had the chance at the orange cat brain cell. But anyways. Oh, and also, second book will be out at the beginning of July. For sure.
What?
Yes.
Crypted Cartoons Book 2 coming in July?
Yeah.
Can you pre-order?
Unfortunately, no, because I don't have a publisher. Hope to get a publisher by the 3rd book for the trilogy, because you can't just make 2 books. You have to have a trilogy.
You do, but you don't need a publisher either, because then you're just, cutting them in on your deal, on your hard work. If you do have a publisher, you need to just find one like Grant that won't take your money. Just put your book out.
Well, I know a couple of Italians. They seem like nice guys. Oh, hey, it's Obi Flet. Hi, Obi Flet. Blob.
With arms wide open. God, it's been stuck in my head ever since I said that line. I had to sing it. Sorry, my voice is terrible.
No, Susan, I will not have a. I have one copy of my book handy.
I
have
have
a
it.
bunch of them, and then I bought a whole bunch, and then I go over to the local pub and have chicken wings on Wednesdays for super cheap and draw cartoons and leave them there. And a lot of people have come by like, "Oh, buy one of your books." I'm like, "I'll be right back." Walk across the street, come back with a book. Like, really?
That's how I sold all of my copies of Triangles, Aliens, and Messages.
Nice.
Felt like a library, like a drop-off librarian. I don't know.
You are a librarian.
You know, I love my life and career and different jobs that I've had. And at one point, I really considered library sciences. And if I wouldn't have chose chef school, that's what would have hooked me. Although it also surprises people that I actually considered becoming a nun as well. I'm glad I didn't choose that career path.
I hope you didn't. Good blobbing tonight, Filth, as we got about 10 seconds. Thank you to Big Dog, Cat Chaser, Dutch Hank, Obi Flet, Joe, and Tim for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. Here we go with hour number 2, everybody. We're kicking off hour number 2 talking about UFO transparency. Thank you for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy behind the microphone of this weird show each and every night. Thank you for joining us as we say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We really appreciate earning your listening ears. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Sticking with the Space Travelers Club, the Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xenodokianology. I don't know what this word is. Apparently it means love of hotels. That is your password for tonight. Use it wisely. Nicole Sakach is here. UFO transparency, UAP transparency. The word transparency, Nicole, I think if you follow the field of ufology, is going to become the next trigger word for many people. Why? Well, everybody is hiding behind this word transparency, saying it out loud and proud, like Congressman Tim Burchett, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and many others talking about it. But nobody ever does anything with the transparency. Now, if you look up the definition of transparency, what it says is this: the quality of allowing light to pass through so that objects can be distinctly seen, the transparency of ice. But let's talk about, what does a person mean to be transparent? It's an adjective without secrets. Without secrets. And yet what we're seeing is transparency behind closed doors, that the public is not allowed to play. We're not allowed to know. At least not yet. And maybe not for a long time. I think it is the next UFO trigger word. What's your thoughts?
It is a bit triggering when, you put it in context, because that's not what we're getting. Just like we're not getting disclosure of the phenomenon. Like, we're getting disclosure of something, whether it's special access programs without oversight or out of control spending, with no oversight, transparency of how the system actually operates, or the cogs within that of how our activism is truly working. Like, I know when transparency first became a hot topic for me was, or I should say, in-depth conversations. Like, the first ones I remember were with Grant, actually. And it was right before the Wilson Davis notes got posted to Reddit. And we knew they were going to drop. It was that sort of thing. And he had known, and he's talked about this publicly since a couple times. If people have caught on or followed Grant enough, they might have heard him mention it. But James Ian Doley had actually contacted Grant within the same few weeks. And I don't think Grant was mean to him, because he's not ever mean to anybody. But he had the opportunity to share more with James than he did at that point. And I don't know what really clicked with Grant, but it was shortly after not sharing enough with James that Grant felt really terrible, and he kicked himself in the butt about it. He was like, I'm about transparency, and I don't like being painted into corners, and I do like collaborating and helping people. And he felt terrible. And I think he reached back out to James and sent him what he wanted. And since that time, I know Grant has tried to help anybody that has ever reached out to him. If he can help people, if he can share information with them, if he can help them write a paper, help them just by letting them share their story, then he does. He goes out of his way to do that. And I think that's hard for some researchers, because they feel like they're guarding their life's work, or they might have a piece of a bigger puzzle that they're not ready to share yet, because they want to be in control of that information that they have, which isn't as bad as it sounds, But like my case in point in writing these the book series to come, Managing Magic and Beyond Managing Magic, and we don't know what the next titles will be, but knowing that to talk to some of the people that I'm speaking with about these books and doing an updated version or a more current continuation of these stories, I've faced that. Like, I've had some people reach out to me, and they know that I'm working on a certain line of questioning, and they've given me information that's been really helpful. And I've caught myself not wanting to return that favor, because I'm like, oh, well, for whatever reason. And I've stopped myself doing that a couple times because of the Grant effect. I do like collaborating. It's hard sometimes when you don't know somebody very well, and there's so often just like randomly people will send me something and just dump all this information on me, and it's usually so much it takes me a while to get through it, on top of everything else that I'm doing, and then reach back out to them in some sort of constructive way. But I've noticed that when I do that and I can take the time and help people that way, that it continues. The good ones continue, and they do credit you. And more often than not, they're able to push that needle a little bit further. And, Courtney and I are very good at getting information together from different angles, and yeah, if I could collaborate with 7 Courtneys, one for every day of the week, like, oh my gosh. That would be so fun. But
I,
it shows me more and more people are wanting to do things themselves in this community. They don't just want to sit back and wait for information from other people. Like, they're on the hunt, and I love it.
so when it comes to the whole being transparent, is it disappointing to you as a UFO researcher that we have these power brokers in Washington, D.C. talking tough about the subject, and yet, due to security reasons, they can't release anything? They talk very publicly and openly that they want to get this story out to the public. And I realize when it comes to defense and aerospace and national security, there are certain things that can't be said. I could agree with that. Okay. However, isn't it getting a little old when you hear Tim Burchett talk about we need transparency for this subject? And yet, when they want to talk transparently, it has to be behind a skiff, behind closed doors, for only his ears and for anybody else's ears that are sworn in to hear that conversation. Like, to me, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Tim. But politicians are famous for that.
Right. But I think that's part of the dance they dance. They get their talking points and their platform issues, and they kind of hammer those home over and over and over again because for that consistency. So they don't really have a playbook. They have to do this within the parameters of the job that they have to do. So I think where it falls short is like you said, these people get walked into a skiff and they hear secret information, and then we hear the trickle out of it. So what we're getting is secondhand at best, and that sucks. Because when you're researching, you like to be hands-on and first source, those sort of things. Hear it from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Okay. So change it from the governmental side then to the ufologist side, where someone like Richard Dolan or other people who have a following, get caught up in what's going on with the UFO world. And then when they finally realize what is going on, they, I don't know how to say this without saying it rudely, and I don't mean it this way, but I'm just going to say it the way it's going to come out. It seems like they're coming into this brand new manifest that they have stating this isn't about disclosure at all. This is about something completely different. And I'm now getting to my followers, my listeners, my paid subscribers to get to this new message, to lead them into my way of thinking again, rather than, as you have said many times on this occasion, giving credit where credit is due to those who have worked their tails off to bring their knowledge to it, and giving them credit for standing up for what they've seen all along. And I think that's one of the flaws we have in the UFO community, is that we're not watching what other people are saying. We're not watching what other people are doing. We're not giving credit where credit is deserved. And this is a hard subject. It may sound like a fun subject, and it is to those on the outside, but when you're deep in the trenches like you are, it can be very difficult.
I think there's a certain breed that really doesn't care about credit. I walk that line a little bit. I mean, my name's been on one book with Grant, but I've helped him with several, as Desta's name's on a few books, but she's probably helped him with more than people know. Yeah, so there's little moments like that, and I do think I think it's hard for anybody to say, like, to claim 100% credit for an idea or a theory or a complete body of work in this community, because it is kind of built generationally, and how long you've been in the field yourself and who you collaborate with. I've heard horror stories, in the like on the publishing end, about people getting cut out of books or promised that a book would be about them, and then it's really not about them, it's about something else, or books not being cited correctly, things like that. A lot of this happens in the blog vlog world as well, and you see things sort of emerge. And I remember a shift in the community when people started talking about the consciousness connection, and how many people just turned away from that at first. And then it seemed like, well, by the time I was thinking about working with Grant, it was like half of my long-term friends were like, Grant's crazy. He went off the deep end. He was fine when he was sticking to the presidents. So with that, a lot of people were like, well, what happened to Grant? Oh, he's just trying to stay relevant. It's, the hot button. It's the thing to do. And I'm sure people might be saying that about Richard Dolan. I think they've said it about his work before. Like, he was more nuts and bolts until Tracy came along and introduced this sort of remote viewing, high strangeness aspect. And I think that maybe shifted her husband's point of view a little bit, opened his horizons. And I think we have to remember that disclosure, or people's acceptance to the highest of the high strange, is always going to get that pushback. People are going to have it at different times too. I brought up Grant, his big turn started around 2013. A lot of his longtime friends, over the years, have reached out to me, especially when he was sick, and it was like, I thought Grant, I didn't really understand the direction he was moving with his research, but now I do. It's like they're hitting these certain reflection points in their own work, and they understand why Grant shifted, or why Linda Moulton Howe shifted, why Kathy Martin has shifted. Maybe it has to do with longevity. Maybe it has to deal with an evolution of your own work. After you speak with so many experiencers for so long, you naturally start coming to these conclusions. So that it's more than a sighting in the sky. It's more than a UFO. So, or a UAP.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll cut Dolan some slack. Like, I think he has room to expand his area of research. That would be nice.
I think, though, for me, it makes me wonder where the message is going. Because in the end, people look to people like Dolan, or you or me or George Norrie or Jimmy Church, or some of the other names in this field. We look to see this field as a voice of reason to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't many out there who are actually using solidarity in order to try and push what truly is going on. Everybody is on their own different tangent. Nobody works together in this field.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't work in the business world. Why do we expect it to work in the UFO world when people are going from me to you to Dolan to Grant Cameron to Linda Moulton Howe to Leslie Keene to Lou Elizondo and everybody in between?
I think the last time we saw big time unity was the citizens disclosure movement and hearing. You know, there was Stephen Bassett, there was Dolan, there was Grant, there was Linda, there was Stanton Friedman. You know, anybody who was a who's who was at that event and helped make it what it was, or helped Dr. Greer make it what it was, or lended their professionalism to it. And I think we saw glimmers of that to start happening again with this round of little d disclosure. And I know nobody's going to love hearing me say this, but like when Lou Jimenez hosted the UCR, what I call the UFO telethon, you know, that was kind of our community at its finest. There were so many people that kind of came into that online venue to spread the word. And what was that? That was where they had the blank sheet where you could plug in your information and send, you know, awareness to your congressman, you know, to support the UAP topic. That felt like a special moment in our community of people coming together and reaching out across all these factions. But it's kind of unraveled since Grush has come forward and legislation has fallen through. You know, it seems like it's less structured and unified now. Like there's factions within the factions now, maybe. So where do you go from there? I don't know. Like you keep on keeping on. You keep raising the awareness. You keep doing your part in the ways that you can. Like, I mean, disclosure for me has never been like, and I think I even said it on the show once. It makes you think of the Kennedy speech, like, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Like, I've kind of known all along that we're not going to get the president at the podium announcing we are not alone. You know, this sort of disclosure and your expectations, I think, need to be adjusted all the time and constantly. But that it's like Sean Cahill asked me once, well, what do you plan on doing after disclosure? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, what do you plan on doing? Like, and I'm like, well, there's still plenty of work to be done. There's, you know, experience or chats. There's, you know, psychological help. There's reworking, you know, reporting, you know, all these different things that you can think of. Like that work never ends just because somebody goes, extraterrestrials are real. It's not like we're like, woo, job's done, packing the weird desk. You know, it never stops. So whether this movement continues or it deflates and it resurges again with new players, you know, like it seems to every once in a while, you know, so be it. The whole goal is to still be around when it's the most exciting news ever. Grant calls it the Super Bowl, compares it to the times of Jesus. Like, you know, people didn't realize they were walking with Jesus. That sort of thing.
Well, we've got about 45 seconds here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Nicole Sakach is our guest tonight, talking transparency in ufology. It's one of those things where we're going to see a community that continues to do its own thing. I mean, let's face it. You know, we could get into this after the break, or we could just end it right at the break. But for a lot of people, it does come down to a minor league disclosure for dollars. What can I do to keep my subscribers up? What can I say to keep my donators up on Patreon or YouTube or wherever it may be? And that's part of the issue too, right? That's part of the issue that we see too. And that's why it's very individualized, because it does come down to some people making a living off of this. On that note, Nicole, We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Our second half of our show coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Clear.
Zap him again.
No Thaden.
If anybody can figure out that portion of what song that is, clear. Zap him again.
You don't want to get zapped. You don't want to be not clear.
It's part of a song. It's part of a song.
Have you ever been tased by a taser gun?
No, don't
Or
plan.
like a shock from an electric fence or something like that?
Nope. Don't have it.
Yeah, that's why you clear. Where'd Filthy go?
He usually shuts it down because he's got to put the cats to bed.
Blob has to get her beauty sleep. Are we doing audience questions tonight?
If they come up, I will.
I didn't know if we usually do that. It's been so long since I've done the how long is it? It's more than an hour. Are we an hour two?
We're in hour 2. I got you for another 30 minutes here.
It's gone by so fast. That's why I was like, oh, we do questions in the second, like the
Yeah, let's
last
get some audience questions. Put your questions in capital letters for Nicole. I will get them. Paranormal cyclist, welcome to SOR chat. Mike Bothwell wants to know why you named your dog Buster.
He kind of was one. It just kind of fit his attitude. But what I didn't really realize was every dog I've owned has been named with a B. I had Bosco, Benji, Buffy, and now Buster. So I don't know what that says about me subliminally or anything, but yeah, I kept with the B tradition, and he's a little buster. A ball buster for sure. Yeah, he was my first son. A year older than my actual son.
PRM Productions, Patrick from Vetted, was supposed to be the guest tonight, but he called in sick. He's got a bad cold. He said to apologize for everybody that he couldn't make it tonight. We are in the process of rescheduling him.
I'm going to tease him so much tomorrow morning. I took a couple pictures of me with your screen in the background, and I'm just going to be like, I covered your sickness last night, Patrick, because I've kind of befriended him since he hosted me and Grant on Vetted, and it was so much fun getting to know him. And he's also a chef. Like, I just think all chefs are cool, but he's actually a very successful one and kind of famous in the chef world. So I'm a huge fan of the way he's tackling the UFO topic. Yeah. He'll be a great guest when he reschedules.
I think so. It's a new voice. New voice. Questions for Nicole. I want to know what you guys think of UFO transparency. Simon the Likeable, yes. Coma, Guns N' Roses. Thank you. One of the best 10-minute songs ever. Did anybody else get Coma? I don't think so. Nobody else got Coma. We got about 35 seconds. Hi, Blue Cruz. Major Lee GPT. It's your new nickname. Cliff Psy.
Please.
Major Lee GPT. Thank you tonight to Obi Flett, Dutch Hank, Cat Chaser, Big Dog, Joe, and Tim for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So check it on out, as we like to see you in nice clothing. So you look nice in your new SOR clothing. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's second half tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you coming on in and enjoying the woo with you know who. Yeah, we love it around here. We have a lot of fun. Nicole Sakach is here talking UFOs, and when we return here in a minute, we will get her pick on what's really going on in the UFO world. But first, we have to say hello to everyone tuning us in, wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth, and remind all of you that you can check out our free archives all over the interwebs on every major podcast network, along with YouTube, Twitch. Even follow me on LinkedIn. There we go. You can do that. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, coming back once again, Nicole Sakach. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing good. I was looking for my swag. I usually have some swag laying around, but I must have actually put it away.
Got a good question to kick off some audience questions here. This one coming from Art over on LinkedIn. Thank you, Art, for participating. Did you ever consider that disclosure may be big and too diverse a subject to expose? Good question.
Absolutely. I've been in a couple heated debates that if the phenomenon has these aspects of religion and spirituality that a lot of us believe to be true, then I don't think our government can ever disclose that side of the nature of the phenomenon. Yeah, it is too big.
Give an example of that, though. Eisenhower?
Contact modalities and religious protections in our country and your right to believe how you want to believe. I think if we start levelizing the phenomenon and spirituality and aspects that cross over, I don't see how we would support anybody giving the phenomenon a definition like that, or redefining other spiritual practices to encompass the phenomenon in that way. Like, we compare angels to aliens, that comes up a lot. Or if we're dealing with demons, or if we're talking about more Eastern spirituality practices, channeling, states of nirvana, So yeah, and myself being raised Catholic and thinking about aspects of the Holy Spirit and the Holy Trinity, and those crossovers that come up in heist or other religious practices that come up in heist and human initiated contact. That's murky spirituality, religious waters there, to where, I think my government has a separation of that for good reason. So I think if we're talking about changing lingo and ideology and ontological shock and start making comparisons and saying, well, I channeled AFA, and then you have somebody say, well, I channeled the Holy Spirit, would a president ever disclose contact with God?
Who knows?
It's that level. Would we want them to? No, not in the United States. That's why we have that separation of church and state.
All right, let's go to a new question here.
It's a
This
good one.
one coming from Paranormal Cyclist. Do you believe in the ancient astronaut theory?
On some levels, yes. I think it expresses something that's been happening to our human society for as long as human record. So, do I believe every aspect of the ancient astronaut theory? No. Do I think the show, honestly, Ancient Aliens, encompasses ancient astronaut theory at its finest. It started by Eric von Däniken, rose to fame in the 70s. Almost like cult-like fame, honestly. Like even people outside of UFO interests knew about Chariots of the Gods and Eric von Däniken. He exploded on the scene. And if I know my UFO people history correctly, I think it was around 1998 when Giorgio Tsoukalos started the American chapter of Eric von Däniken's work. And it just exploded from there. And I think that's because there's good people, good ancient astronaut theorists that have expanded upon their work throughout time. And one of my favorites is Smooch. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Smooch. I always want to smooch him because he's the one that did like the water theory studies on like the Sphinx of that. It was, I guess deteriorated from runoff water or stable water or rising the Nile instead of, it showed a high period of rain in the desert when the Sphinx was built. It's little things like that. Who's the hot one right now that just did the Ancient Apocalypse show? He talks about the Younger Dryas. He pushes his theories. He's been fighting that good fight for a lot of years now. And there's a lot of solid scientists and professionals that lend their expertise to the ancient astronaut theory. And that's developed over the years. I loved it when Giorgio came out and he was fighting with Seth Shostak about needing more credible people, or, it just being talking heads as a part of the show. And Giorgio had, it was over 20 doctors and PhDs and scientists that, have been part of the show over 20 years now. It's been going on over 20 years now. That's amazing. So yeah, I do follow ancient astronaut theorists to a certain extent, but I've never dove into it myself. That seems very hands-on. I've never had that kind of money to travel. I would love to go to Egypt, but it's things like that. Or South America. I had a whole like South American 18-day adventure vacation planned where I wanted to go to Machu Picchu, and so I'll live vicariously through the ancient astronaut theorists. That's awesome.
All right, let's move on to another one for you. Audience questions here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Lisa. Please do tell about your UFO sighting or ET contact.
Oh, which one? Which one should I talk about, Dave?
You know my favorite story.
I don't. What's your favorite me
The night
story?
you called me in tears of happiness
Oh,
because you got called out and then came home to a surprise. Tell that story. You haven't told it in a long time.
you let me break into Spaced Out Radio that night, actually, and share this story. It was during the time where I was first starting to enter in heists and trying out contact modalities, and I was already an avid sky watcher and things like that. Have all the apps, check, stuff like that. I didn't put it together until after the fact, but I was coming up on the 20-year anniversary of my first UFO sighting. The green fireball is how I put it. But I talked to you that week and I said, something's up. I don't feel right. I keep like tuning out. It's like the tones. I keep feeling like I need to go to my sighting spot. I was getting called out, which at the time was even a new term for me. I'm like, what is this? What is this? What people mean? Like they feel their craft. So, I went like 2 days in a row. I'm like, something's telling me to go to my UFO spot. And then I started getting these little synchronicities like 1111, 555. Like it was coming up, at work, those numbers would pop up, just driving me a little nuts, honestly. And I was also doing these intentional meditations several times a day. I was working towards going to a group heist event, and I wanted to, follow protocols and be my best self for that. And yeah, it was so weird after 3 days of kind of being tortured by this feeling that something was happening. I was on the phone with Grant, and I forget what we were working on, but my phone just started blowing up, like all of my devices. And it was people around my county seeing something in the sky. Some of my friends, they're like, I don't even freaking believe this.
I remember that.
So yeah, I was like, what? And I know it probably shocked people, but I literally, I hung up on Grant. I hung up on Grant Cameron. I was like, I gotta go to my spot. Boom. Like, hung up. And at this time, I would always go with my gear. So I grabbed all my sky watching gear, my devices, my cameras, everything. And I'm like, see you later, Buster. Because I even took the dog with me at that time, Ran out, hopped in my car, went to my spot. Still getting messages and calls from people around. They're like, it's over this town. It's coming this way. We spotted it here. What is this thing? Holy shit. You name it, I was getting the messages. Well, I get there and I should be at a spot where I can see miles and miles and miles in every single direction. That's why I love this spot. And nothing. Couldn't see anything. I'm like, what the fuck? This is torturous. I'm like shaking my fist. Have my stuff set up. And I waited and I waited. Wasn't getting any more messages. I'm like, what is this? This would have been the third day in a row. And so I packed up one of my cameras, threw it in the back of my Explorer, grabbed the other one, and I was putting it in the back. And I don't know why, but I looked up, straight up. And when I did that, it was above me. So I had been out there the entire time, looking, doing a 360. And the only thing I didn't do was look straight up. And so I freaked out when I saw it. because that was just crazy seeing it directly above me like that. And this is during the daylight hours. I had never had a daylight encounter with anything either. And I cranked up the music in my Explorer, like full blast, and broke out my camera, and I was shaking so bad. Like, I had a moment, honestly, when I saw it above me. I was just like so dumbfounded that it was actually there, and I was seeing something yet again. I went to
Right.
my knees. I went to my knees, and I almost started to cry, and I was like, "Get your fucking phone out." And that it like took everything I had to pull out my phone, and I went to Facebook Live, and I was able to get it on camera for like 4 minutes and 20 something seconds. And it started doing this to the music that I was playing. This like in rhythm, popping in and out, doing this light display. And I'm like talking and crying at the same time. People had joined the Facebook Live that had called me from around the county, and they were like, "That's it. That's what I saw. What is this thing doing? Like, oh my God, it's changing colors." And it was a whole experience. And then it went and was gone. And I cried all over again because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe. And then it came back, and I was like, oh my God, it's back. And then it left for good that time. I drove around trying to see if maybe it would show up somewhere else in the county. Ended up coming back home to find my dog freaked out, hiding under the bed. A huge urine pool. My house was locked, got the dog settled, and I went to take off my shoes and put away my gear because I had all my cameras and bags. And that's when I realized there was an apport on my, almost directly where I'm sitting now, where I did a lot of work. The location I was at where I had the sighting and my first sighting is like a road rock surplus out in the middle of the country. We call it the rock piles. And so there was a mini rock pile on my table. And that kind of, it was the first time I had a known apport happen like that.
Explain to people what an apport is.
Something that can physically appear out of nothing. So people have talked about being gifted like gemstones or marbles or coins that appear. This was a pile of rocks. A big story is feathers. Sometimes feathers appear. They happen in physical mediumship circles, like when an entity comes through. There can be physical manifestations that come along with that. So my apport, or what I understood it to be, was sort of that. I was trying to engage with this thing. I was talking to it. I was playing the music. I was like Chris Bledsoe says thank you to his, like, thank you, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, that stuff. And so, I sort of looked at it as that return of, I saw them. They wanted me to know that they also saw me. So they left me an apport. Rocks from the rock pile. Yeah.
Here you come home. You've got this weird, strange set of rocks that are now gathered on your table. Your dog saw something that absolutely scared the daylights out of it, because your dog Buster never urinates in the house. And here we were with a big puddle of urine on the floor. And him, I guess, ran upstairs freaking out. I could just imagine what he saw.
Well, whether it's me coming home or somebody visiting my house, he's the type of dog that's at the door or barking when he hears, a car pull up, things like that. So it was unusual that he didn't greet me at the door, especially because I usually take him with me in those instances. So that was like my first cue that something was off, but I still didn't think anything bad. I wasn't scared, you know. I think I was even on the phone with you at the time. And then after I kind of realized the possibility, that's I wasn't scared, but I didn't want to touch anything. Remember, I was like, what do I do? Like, I mean, this is my table, like right here. Do I move anything? Do I take pictures? Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to touch the rocks. Like, I ran my Geiger counter over them. Yeah. So I still have them. I don't know that they're nothing special, like gravel rocks. I didn't get anything fancy like gemstones.
I remember when you called me after that happened, you were crying, and I
Mhm.
thought something bad had happened. I really did think something bad had happened. And
Um,
you started explaining what was happening. Why the emotional reaction that you had to that?
Honestly, I don't know. It was just such a buildup those 2 days before. I think I was feeling some sort of relief and validation that it had happened again and that other people had also witnessed this. So it was a lot. And a lot of the shock was trying to gauge and put into perspective, like, was it the heist? Was it the meditations? What was this? Was it me? You know, I don't have answers to any of those questions. I was scared for a while to continue with heists alone, for sure. That's when I wanted to seek out group more people to see if it would happen with more people. So, and then COVID hit.
Yes. We got just under 3 minutes. Let's get two more questions in. Laura is asking, of the UFO lore, Eisenhower, etc., which do you find most credible?
Oh, the Halt memo. That's my favorite document of all time is the Colonel Halt's memo that he was able to submit and his voice recording of what he encountered at Rendlesham Forest. I think that's pivotal. People want me to say Wilson Davis notes, but old school lore, uh, it's always kind of Roswell a little bit with that and the cover up, of course. But then I'm also kind of fond of the core story right now, which is a little bit into our lore. Whether it's really true or if it's been mythologicalized by our community a little bit and the who's who or the players involved. I try to sort that out all the time. But yeah, that's probably a few of them that I think are most credible.
There's a lot I want to believe. I would say the one I want to believe the most is Eisenhower, whether or not he met aliens. 90 seconds. Let's see if we could switch this one in. Art on LinkedIn. How would one distinguish between the difference of what would be cataloged alien, angel, demons, or even interdimensional beings? I also have a problem with the term extraterrestrial, especially when someone or some of what we term to be extraterrestrial could have already been here for millions of years. Even if these beings came from another star system, would they still be called extraterrestrials? I've had over 15 years of experiences and have difficulty cataloging the different species of aliens. Your thoughts, Nicole? We got about 45 seconds.
I think those definitions become reflective of the individual. You left out my favorite few, ultra terrestrial, and then we brought up Dr. Matt. Extra Temptation Island estrials, also known as extra tempestrials. Yes. I honestly love that phrase, extra tempestrials, because it encompasses this time dilation thing that seems to be at play. I won't say time travel, but time distortion. Yeah.
Nicole, thank you for coming on last minute on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR and helping us out. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Tales Untold, Jackie Harmon, and Lee Extra Small Strauss are up next on Spaced Out Radio when we return.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Lee Extra Small Strauss.
Yeah, it's because he's a size large and he wears an extra small t-shirt because he's got one of them physiques that actually, embarrasses men like me, and so he wears these extra tight t-shirts in order to flash his muscles off.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yep. That's Lee Extra Small Strauss, and if you saw him right now, he's flexing. Oh, damn it! I was just about to flash him up on the screen too. I was just about to do that.
I was in a fun.
Great show.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me fill in for Patrick.
No, thank you for bailing me out.
Oh, you're welcome.
It is.
You're lucky I didn't have a hot date tonight.
I know, McDreamy.
Okay. So that was a question I think you missed, and it might be too personal, but somebody asked what happened to random guy.
Yeah.
So we can let that one.
Love him. We still love random guy.
We still love random guy. That's true. So I was in this conversation earlier today with somebody that you know, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. And they didn't realize how not tall a lot of ufologists are, or a lot of UFO people are. And this person, I thought it was funny because this person is notoriously tall. They're like 6'3", I think. So when he had encountered Gary Nolan, and Eric Davis, he didn't realize that they were like closer to 5'5", under average male height.
Nice.
As being a tall female, like next.
Well, you're like 6'3".
Ufologist. Well, you don't want to wear heels around some of them because then you're. And right. So I won't name all the short ufologists out there, but there's a lot shorter ones than there is taller. It's out of view. That's some data that I collected without realizing. I think it's funny.
I got to get going, kiddo.
I'll tune in.
All right,
I left here Stockton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Jackie Harmon. She's like 5'11", and Lee Strauss, he's like 5'3", but he's like 210 pounds of solid muscle, wearing the extra small shirt.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh, ouch. Look at Sierra here. Nicole, don't you wish there were actually hot guys in ufology? What the hell?
They're out there, honestly. Like there are some. Yeah, there are some good-looking people in all of ufology. Honestly, not just men or women, across the board. There are. It's the hotness and the right personality. It's got to be a total package. That might be hard to find in ufology.
True.
I don't date in ufology. It's been hard. Random guy is the closest person in ufology that I've dated. I had a flirtation with Joe Merja Lots of
Oh,
people
my.
don't know about that. A few people do, though. Like, but yeah, never works when you're states and states away from people. That's
What
why.
was it like touching Joe Merja's Velcro hair? Running your fingers through the Velcro. Be honest.
Joe has great hair.
He does have great hair. I'm not insulting his hair.
You don't mess with somebody's hair when it's done, like.
I just fear for him that he may get stuck sometime. One of those padded Velcro walls that you jump against. Joe doesn't need a suit.
My
I'm
favorite
saying that,
Joe
if
hair.
Joe, if you're listening, I'm saying that all out of love because I love Joe Mergia. I do.
Joe's hair. My favorite was when he makes fun of himself and he picked it all out real big and fluffy.
It was nice.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, no way. Where did all that hair come from? Now, when he has it done, he has it done and it's done and it's nice and what guys do.
All right, my dear. I got to get going. I'm back on in 45 seconds. Thank you for a great night. We'll talk tomorrow, okay?
It was fun. Yep. Anytime. Thanks, space travelers. Have a good night.
Good night. Nicole Sakach, everyone. And thanks to Sierra, I'm going to be kicking myself in the ass for not being good looking in ufology. Yeah. Thanks, Sierra. Giving me nightmares. Thank you to Dutch Hank, Obi Flett, Tim, Joe, Big Dog, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. I'm just going to wallow in my water here, maybe drown before the next segment starts. Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. According to some, I am the ugliest man in ufology. Yes, that's why I have a face for radio and a voice for print. It's true, apparently. Apparently. But we're going to go with it because we still got a show to do. My name is Dave Scott, your host of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you to everyone on our terrestrial affiliates for tuning us on in tonight. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Speaking of the Space Travelers Club, the Desert Clam has set the password for tonight. Pointy Sticks. Pointy Sticks is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on SOR. Yeah. It's that time of the night. We say hello to Mr. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and now Tales Untold with another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. I should have listened to the park ranger's warnings about going off trail in the deep backcountry of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Stay on the marked paths, he had cautioned me with a grave look. Folks have gone missing out there over the years, never to be seen again. But I was a smug 22-year-old fresh out of college, and certain that the stories of inexplicable disappearances were just Appalachian tall tales meant to keep tourists corralled. How wrong I was. Now I'll be traumatized for life after my terrifying encounter with, I'm not even sure what to call them, a feral inbred clan, degenerate human beings gone savage. They were the stuff of nightmares, whatever they were. The sun filtering through the trees created a picturesque setting as I made my way along the trail. The vibrant colors of wildflowers and the lush greenery of the forest enveloped me. In the distance, I spotted a majestic black bear, its massive form moving gracefully through the landscape. I found myself surrounded by a forest of vibrant green trees, their leaves swaying gracefully in the sunshine that peeked through the canopy above. The vibrant hues of wildflowers added a pop of color to the green landscape. In the distance, I saw another black bear meandering along a ridge, reminding me of the true wilderness of the mountains. The lush green foliage of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park surrounded me as I followed the winding trail. The sun began to set, casting a green-orange glow over the trees and turning the sky a deep shade of purple. Shadows grew longer around my campsite, creating an eerie atmosphere. I noticed the rough wooden staff leaning against a nearby tree, its bark gnarled and worn from use. It stood out against the natural beauty of the forest, a man-made object in the wild. How it got there, I have not a clue. Maybe some hiker left it behind. Suddenly, shadows began moving just beyond the reach of my campfire's glow. There were definitely multiple humanoid figures skulking at the tree line, occasionally emitting some kind of bone-chilling wail and what sounded like grunts. My heart raced, panic coursing through my veins as I frantically searched for a solution. My hands shook as I reached for the bear spray, but a voice in my head told me it'd be useless against these creatures. These were clearly not bears, despite their guttural growls and snarls. My mind raced with possibilities. Should I run? But the thought of them chasing after me in the darkness of the forest made my blood run cold. Should I climb a tree? As I surveyed the towering trunks around me, doubts crept in about my ability to scale one before they closed in on me. Sweat trickled down my forehead as I weighed my options, knowing that my next move could be my last. With trembling hands, I stoked the fire and watched as it flickered and danced in the night, casting eerie shadows on the trees surrounding me. My heart pounding in my chest as I clutched my trusted camping knife, my only line of defense against whatever lurked in the darkness. Hours crept by as I stood sentry, my eyes darting back and forth between the shifting shadows beyond the fire's reach. The unearthly moans and grunts of strange creatures echoed through the stillness, their movements resembling a grotesque imitation of human beings. In the dim light, I could make out at least 5 or 6 distinct figures prowling just beyond my vision. Each passing moment seemed to stretch into an eternity as I waited for dawn to break and release me from this living nightmare. Finally, as the first sliver of dawn began to brighten the woods, the horrific howling trailed off and the shapes appeared to disperse, hopefully driven back by the approaching daylight. I'd never been so utterly petrified in my life. As soon as there was enough morning light to see by, I broke camp as fast as humanly possible and hauled ass back along the trail toward the main park roads, putting as much distance as I could between me and whatever those malevolent beings that had stalked me relentlessly through the night of terror were. When I finally emerged from the trailhead, I was an absolute wreck. Bugs plastered to my sweat-soaked shirt, wild-eyed and muttering to myself, hands still shaking uncontrollably. A park ranger took one look at me and knew something was deeply wrong. "You saw them, didn't you?" he asked grimly after I recounted my harrowing experience.
And thank you to Steve Stockton for another great story. If you want more, head on over to his YouTube channel, Tales Untold, and you can check it out right there. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. From the missing to the mysterious, let's walk in the woods as we have the Crypted Report. Jackie Harmon and Lee Strauss are here after getting rained out on their adventure in Washington State, as they have frozen up there on their camera. There we go. Now we got them. And Lee will get you to unmute your microphone if you don't mind, because that usually works a little bit. You know.
There we go.
Well, you know what? You guys got rained out this weekend.
We did.
And you're going to try again this weekend, I believe?
That's correct. We actually leave Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday for Mount Adams.
Yep. And we have perfect weather.
Yep.
So no problems this time. That yet. And we hope not.
We have no issues.
No issues.
We're good to go.
Yep.
So tell people what you're going to be doing, Jackie.
Well, we're actually going to be going to Mount Adams to go camping for, was it 3 nights, 4 days?
That's correct.
Okay. And so we're basically going to be setting up to do the Skywatch / Bigfoot research. And so we're going to go live actually every single day that we're out there. We're going to start going live Thursday morning. And then all throughout the weekend, we're going to keep going live. And then we're going to come on Saturday night with Rob at 10 to 11, I believe, like our normal show we do on Sunday night.
Right.
So you guys are actually going to get to watch us live, what we're actually out there doing Saturday night, but we will go live throughout the entire time, off and on. So we want to share that with everybody. I keep referencing.
Right on. So this area that you're going to, Lee, is it known for its Sasquatch adventures?
It's known for Sasquatch, yes, absolutely. But not just Sasquatch, a lot of UFO reports as well. And, you know, in this general area, it's on the opposite side of Mount Adams than Esetty Ranch, if you've ever heard of that, James Gillian's ranch. And, you know, I've caught quite a few UFOs in that area before. So we're headed back there. And the last time, or one time that I was there, I caught a clear as bell Bigfoot howl. That it was just amazing. So there's been reports of them in the area, and some of that stuff's on the BFRO website as well. But we'll be headed out there for you know, the sky watching and the Bigfoot research. You know, putting up trail cameras and hopefully getting some good stuff, as well as maybe interacting with Bigfoot in some way.
When you say about reacting to Bigfoot, what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, so Jackie and I are going out there with the intention that for us, it's not going to be, you know, that we're trying to gather evidence. You know, when you watch the television shows, you know, finding Bigfoot and this and that, they're always slinking around in the dark, you know, and that's kind of like predatory action, our predatory way of doing things, you know, trying to keep low, trying to keep quiet, you know what I mean? So we're just going to go out there and have a good time, make ourselves well known that we're there. Jackie and I were talking about this today, actually, you know, about, you know, just about going out there and being normal, and maybe doing some things out there that might attract Bigfoot in, to be interested in what we've got going on and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we actually have some of the footage of, well, the sound, the audio of like the, you know, the Bigfoot chatter, and that, you know, a lot of people out there have heard. So we're actually going to play that several times. Let's see what kind of interacting we can get. You know, maybe we'll actually hear it come back. Who knows? So that's what we're hoping for.
Aren't you a little bit afraid to play the Bigfoot chatter because you really don't know what they are saying?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what the Bigfoot chatter is going to be saying necessarily, right? So we're hoping that's good stuff and it doesn't create some sort of an issue. But, you know, along with, you know, that noise, or, you know, them speaking that way or whatever they're saying, the chatter, you know, we have good intentions in our heart. And I think Bigfoot can pick up on intentions of people. So, you know, there's much more going on there than just that audio.
What's your thoughts, Jackie?
Well, I've actually used you know, different kind of audio in the past. This is my first time actually playing the chatter out at, you know, in the woods for myself. So I'm, you know, I'm not really scared to do it, but at the same time, I'm interested to see if like it comes back at us. I've heard the chatter in the past. It was a long time ago. My dad and I actually heard it together. We didn't actually capture the same audio that like you hear when you actually hear the chatter online, but
Right.
but I have heard something similar, and I didn't have any fear when I heard it. So I don't think I would have it again if I heard it this time. I'm actually anxious and excited to see if if it does happen. I'm going to be really excited that we're going to get that back. So no, I don't have any fear about it at all.
See, I always wonder about things like that because we don't know what it was being said during the
Yeah,
Ronald Moorhead samurai chatter,
yeah,
1976. And Merle, myself, and Mark Spender, who will be my guest on a couple nights' time, we heard it back in 2018 at our spot. Well, which is now one of our spots.
that's cool.
And hearing that samurai chatter and then listening to 8 months later Ronald Moorhead's Sierra Sounds again
Mhm.
and hearing how it's damn near identical. That's where I literally, I
Yeah.
remember listening to that for the first time, and I remember calling up Merle, and I'm like, "Dude, you have to hear this. You
Mhm.
have to hear this." And when I played
Mhm.
it for him, he's like, "Wow, that is freaking
Yeah.
awesome." That's what we heard.
Well, what's really cool about that is actually Ron's the one that sent them to us. So we're actually really excited to play them. Like I said, this will be my first time in all the years that I've been doing this. So I'm really excited. It's probably the one thing I'm really looking forward to playing and hoping really that we'll get some kind of interaction or activity. Even if we didn't get the chatter back and we heard something else, at least I would feel like, oh my gosh, like something happened and we heard something occur. But yeah, that's the one thing I'm like really looking forward to myself.
How do you stay safe?
Well, for me, I'm always protecting myself with before I even get there. I already, have a sense of like what's going to be there and how to protect myself with my own like protection and energy. And I ground myself very much with the earth when I'm there. It's really kind of a funny backstory for me because I was taught from very early on to when you first get there, like ground yourself where you actually take your shoes off and you talk to the earth and like kind of in a meditation kind of way. You let them know that you're there. You're not there to harm anything. There's a huge respect that I have for Bigfoot and their family or whoever's there. So, on top of that, I'm always protecting myself, obviously, with things like I'll always have something on me, at all times, you know. If anything was to come forward, I'm never going to harm anything unless something was literally going to harm me or someone else. I would never use anything to harm another creature, a Bigfoot or an animal or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for sure, I'm always protected.
Now, here's an interesting comment from Jessa in the chat room. Did you ever think that they want to be left alone? But the one thing that I've learned about my area, they're curious. Not in a harmful way, not in a
Yeah.
defensive way. Now, I'm not saying there aren't rogue ones out there, but for the most part, they're curious.
Yeah.
They are curious. And, as much about us as we are about them, I think in some cases, I don't think that we're going out there with any malicious intent or we're trying to get one up on them. It's not that way. It's more of just, hey, we see you and, you see us and, we can coexist in the same area. It's definitely, the mindset is different, I think, the way that we're trying to approach this. Especially this time around. And I've come more and more to that side of it instead of trying to mess with them or catch them off guard or entrap them in some way. I definitely have a different mindset about it now.
I do too.
I actually believe that they remember us. I know
Me-
that when you go out over and over and they get familiar with you, they know what you look like, they know what you smell like, they know what your intentions are. If you're out there over and over and over and they know that you're there and you're in their environment, you're remembered.
Mhm.
So I think there actually ends up becoming some kind of a relationship of respect there where they're not going to harm us or hurt us.
No.
So yeah, that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel pretty safe in the forest. I mean, it's still a weird feeling when you're around them. Like we went to one of our Sasquatch sites this past Sunday, and it was a weird feeling. Like areas that we don't normally get that weird feeling. It was the minute we stopped,
Mm.
and my buddy, we were in my Jeep, and I opened my door. Mark opens his door, and it was like all of a sudden we did not want to get out of our vehicle. Like there was
Oh
Wow.
wow.
hesitation about getting out of our vehicle. And
Mm.
Mhm.
and it was one of those real interesting times where just like, okay, let's take in the energy. Let's deduce the energy to see what does this
Uh-huh.
feel like? What does it add up to? Does it feel like a wolf? Does it feel like a deer? Does it feel like a moose or a coyote or a mountain lion or a black bear or something
Uh-huh.
else? And this is where, when you're in the forest enough and you do enough time in the forest, you can pick up the energy of what's around you.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
we started looking around, and Mark immediately said, I feel like we're being watched by a bear. Like, okay. And we found fresh bear droppings all around us.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Right. As we got out of the vehicle and started wandering around, there was fresh bear scat around us.
Yeah.
So we're
Well,
like,
that
okay.
kind of yeah. Well, I was just going to say that kind of goes back to what I just said too, where I think that you have that interaction with the relationship where they might be doing that to protect you. They might make you feel that way to not get out.
Could be. Could
Mhm.
be. But we ended up looking around, and we walked down this one trail that we normally don't walk down. And it was kind of interesting with what we found. It was very interesting. So we come across this tree, and it's a pretty big tree, height wise. The problem is the tree is bent right over.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
I've
Now,
seen that many times.
from this part, in my area, the first thing we think of is whether or not it was snowpack that did it.
Mhm.
We didn't have a heavy snowpack this year. The other interesting part about it was it's not broken at the base.
Right.
No,
Mhm.
there's no separation from the tree from the stump. It's bent over. So I went and I looked at the base of the tree. And what did I find? The tip of the tree is covered by an old log. So
Oh wow.
on YouTube, if you're watching, there's a
Yeah.
very thin branch that I'm pointing at, and
Mhm.
an old log right there.
Yep.
Now that old log had been on the ground for a long time. And the interesting part about that old log is it was rotten.
Oh.
And the tree tip, the top of the tree that was bent over, wasn't broken, but it was actually tucked underneath
Mhm.
that fallen log that had been there a
Mhm.
long.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A human isn't going to do that.
No,
Right.
they're not.
Okay? You're not going to take probably a 25-foot tree, bend
Mm.
it all the way down, and then throw a log on it. And the one thing that I've learned, and we will talk about this when we get back from the break, the one thing that I've learned about this, as strange as it is is if you're in an area with Sasquatch, they leave extremely subtle clues
Yes,
that
they
they
do.
and to me, this was a clue. It was
Mhm.
something that kind of tripped me out, and can't wait to go back this coming weekend.
That's
Jackie Hart
awesome.
and Lee Strauss are here for the Crypted Report. They're going on a Sasquatch and UFO adventure at Mount Washington. I think that Mount Adams in Washington. We'll be right back, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, so here's another picture of it tucked in from a little bit different angle, which is right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've seen exactly what you're looking at.
Like you can see that log
Yeah.
has been there a while.
That's intentional.
Yeah, definitely is.
Dave, was that on a trail?
It was
Was
literally just off the trail before you enter the trees. So I'll give you a side look here. 1 second. Let me find. So here's the side look, like the long look of it all.
Mm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, I've actually seen this before, where other people in my, you know, Bigfoot past where when they were teaching me would say these are actually like signs showing you or other Bigfoots where to go. It's like symbols of like either go this way or, you know, it's like a sign to them. So I have seen that multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't freaked out about it. We were just looking into it, but it was a sign. We were looking for a sign. That's our sign. We know that
That's
wasn't
definitely
there.
a sign.
We know that wasn't there last year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We kept going there until the final snowfalls. And when we would drive by there earlier this year, we always check the road to see the tracks that are going in and out.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me quickly say hello to a bunch of people in the chat room I haven't got a chance to say hello to yet. So let us say hello to Juliana McGill. How are you? And David Guzman Racing, welcome. Political Foolishness, how you doing? Good point from Political Foolishness tonight. Sometimes YouTube unsubscribes you from channels, so always make sure you're subscribed. Alex Sanchez, thanks for coming on in. As we scroll on back down. Travis Willier Moostus, how you doing, buddy? Luminara Bite, welcome to SOR chat. And who else is here? A bunch of you snuck on in. That's nice. Simon the Likeable. Sweet Donnie Cho. By the way, we're like 3 subscribers away from 26,000. Hi, Wallet Moth. 3 subscribers away. Can we hit 3 subscribers tonight? Oh, we're 2 subscribers now. If you're listening and not subscribed, we're 1 subscriber away from 26,000. Can someone give us the 26,000 mark? Would that be nice?
Let's do it.
Cokeland, how are you? Excuse me, guys. Nope, we're still at $25,999. Son of a gun.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, Lee, hurry up and
Awesome.
subscribe with your 48 different accounts. I'm teasing. Simon the Likeable. Simon the Likeable. No, there is no new news on Terry Wrist. I didn't have a chance to read the article yet. I will be working on that in the next day or two. 26,000. There we go, everybody.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you. I'm going to clap for all of you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you for the love, people.
Who is the last subscriber here? Date subscribed.
Everybody's on there. Let me check.
It's funny. It hasn't updated the 18th yet. It's only done like up to yesterday. Thanks, YouTube. 7 days. Gotta love YouTube sometimes.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got about 20 some seconds. Thank you, Tim, Joe, Big Dog, Cat Chaser, Dutch Hank, and Obi Flett for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate your love, everybody. Appreciate your love. Jackie and Lee appreciate their love. I want to eat this microphone. All right, 5 seconds, everybody. 5 seconds. All right, here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I always appreciate you tuning us in right here on Spaced Out Radio, especially if you're listening on our terrestrial affiliates, because that makes fun. It makes for some fun. It really does. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Jackie Harmon, Lee Strauss. They're on an adventure looking for Bigfoot and UFOs. Big question for you, Lee, as you wear your extra small shirt to enhance your bicep and your pectorals and your trapeziuses and deltoids.
All right.
Come on, pump it up.
Oh, I don't mean to.
It's all good, Dave. It's a
Oh,
medium.
this is what happens when you're in late night radio and you're just trying to have a little bit of fun. A little bit of fun.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Do you think there's a connection between Sasquatch and UFO sightings and UFOs in the area?
You know, there's been some things, Dave, that that we've caught on film. I haven't seen it directly, but there was that story that I think I mentioned to you about this thing that was being drug up through the woods from a gravel road up towards where my partner and I, Andrew, were at my truck, and we actually had Dave Mason, if you know who he is, and he was down below at the lake, filming us up there on the hill. This was just below Mount Baker, so we were hearing all this commotion as this thing was being drug up towards us, and the grunting noises and stuff that we had heard. And you know, at that time we didn't have thermal cameras or anything like that to check out what was going on, and it freaked us out bad enough that we actually packed up our stuff in the truck and took off. But during that time, Dave Mason caught 3 orangish orbs above our position on film, and we didn't see that at all. So I don't know what that was about, but that did happen, and that was recorded.
That was actually really interesting because when he got home, I remember him calling me and I said to him, you know, it's weird because I see these 3 orange orbs usually when I'm like in the woods looking for Bigfoot. And he was like, oh my God, that's exactly what he caught. So it was really weird. I remember talking about that and thinking like, well, I think you guys were just about to have a major experience there.
Yeah, it's just interesting from my perspective and from Anders' perspective. We did not see those orbs in the sky above us. And the fact that they were caught when we were hearing all of that going on. So there must be some sort of correlation. I don't know what that's about or how that fits into this puzzle. Definitely would like to figure it out, though. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Do you think it's energy or just phenomenal connection, Jackie?
For me, it's interdimensional connection. I mean, if you think about it, even spirits have orbs. So, you know, they're very disconnected in a way of like, this is this, that's that. But in a way, they're all very connected in the energy world as well. So, for me at least, it's very connected in the way that, like, I believe Bigfoot and aliens have a huge connection. And I feel like the orbs itself show us that. And the way people say, I've seen this like right in front of me, and then it disappears.
Mhm.
So, you know, I do believe that they are connected. So for me, that's, you know, without saying 100% for me. Now, I know other people believe differently, but that's just how I feel.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not much happening in the paranormal world right now outside of television shows. But, you know, one thing that I did see on X earlier today was somebody questioning, why does somebody like Zach Bagans always run into demons? Everywhere he
She's
goes,
got the answer.
demons.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I very much believe that that is entertainment. It's 100% made for entertainment. I do not believe for 1 second that there are demons at every location Zach likes to attend. I even have friends that own houses he's been to, and he'll claim there's demons there. And I know, in fact, there are not. So, yeah, it's an entertainment situation, and you can't believe everything you guys watch. So, I'd say 90% of ghost hunting on TV is very much faked. So, it's for fun.
It is
You
for
do
fun.
have like 10% that's good, though. Don't forget, there are some people out there who really are trying to, you know, get that evidence. I do believe that.
Have you ever in your crossings with anything ran into a demon?
Me, uh, the only thing, you know, I had one experience in my life that I would say scared me to believe that it was demon like, and that I had sleep paralysis. Okay, I had it one time. It scared the crap out of me. I never are, you know, these evil demons anywhere in the world, but I did wake up one time and it felt like something was sitting on top of me, and I could, you know, physically see something that I would call demon-like creature sitting on me. Now, I have been told that sleep paralysis is like a state of, I guess, kind of a nightmare. You think you're seeing something, but you're not seeing something. So it's a weird one for me. But that would be the closest thing I would ever say. Like, I personally experienced or anything like that in a location, and I've been everywhere.
I would beg to differ for myself. I definitely think that I got attacked by something at the Northern State Hospital here in Washington State. I walked through a doorway and it was instantaneous for me. I felt like I was in this black mass of really tight cobwebs around my body. And it basically just closed in on me and was like wrapped itself around me. And I backed out of the doorway and I looked at the doorway and it said, if you need help, call this number. So I don't know what happened in there or what kind of stuff was unleashed in that room. Porthole could have been open. I have no idea, but that was pretty freaky for me. I instantly told Anderson, we got to get back to the truck. I need to get whatever this is off of me. And so we went back to the truck, and then I started my prayer to Archangel Michael. And once I got through that, it left me alone. So yeah, I feel like I have been attacked by something physically.
And we all know I was attacked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
Thanks to
exactly.
Jackie helping out. Simon wants to know, have any men in black ever tried to silence Bigfoot researchers? Have you ever heard of this? I have not.
I have heard about people who are out looking for Bigfoot, and they will see military type people around. They will see helicopters, military helicopters and stuff like that fly right over them. But I don't think I've ever had anyone be approached like Men in Black personally. But the government is very involved in this whole Bigfoot situation. They're very interested. They actually own quite a bit of land where people have claimed they've seen Bigfoot. So I know they're interested. I just don't know of any people who have been approached by them.
I don't know if I'd want that to happen. Could you imagine, out looking for Sasquatch or Dogman, and all of a sudden you kind of get a tap on your shoulder and it's people in camouflage military clothing saying you need to get out of here now. This, I just couldn't imagine what that would be like. Could not imagine. That'd be extremely uncomfortable. Do you know anybody who that's happened to?
I don't know anybody who's had that experience.
I know it happened once in Pennsylvania. Butch Witkowski told us a story about that, where these people came across a dogman. And while they were trying to get out of the area, they heard more noise. And when they looked up, thinking this dogman's following them through the trails, they actually saw a couple of camouflaged clothing, people with military style rifles coming out of the trees saying it's time for you to leave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think the only time I've ever had anything even remotely close to anything like that was getting somewhat close to Area 51, but we already know that they're there and they protect that place very well. But outside of that, I've never personally had that experience in my life. Thank God, because that would freak me out.
Let's go to Sierra. If Bigfoot are higher being, then why do they need to kill deer and animals to eat meat? And why do they smell?
Well, for me, Bigfoot is just like people. That they do this to survive. They're intelligent beings. Sometimes I think they're even more intelligent than we are. In fact, people think, they live like cavemen / apes or wild people, like feral people. And they're actually highly intelligent creatures. They have speech. They can communicate like in ways we don't even, and they can take very good care of themselves. I mean, like, look at the way they can basically hide from people. They're very smart. They know what they're doing. They use cave systems, they use roads, they use trails, anything you can imagine. And they're very intelligent. I think people have the wrong idea of them, thinking like they're just creatures who are dumb, and they're very much the opposite.
Yeah, I think as well, though, that it's a large creature, 600, 700, 800, maybe even 1,000-pound creature here. It needs to sustain itself, so it's going to go after any kind of meat it can get. as well as any kind of berries or
Mhm.
anything it can find to eat. It will take a deer down. I saw, I think it was about 2 years ago, I saw a picture of a hunter came across this deer carcass, and its head was turned like a corkscrew,
Mm.
and it wasn't CG or anything like that. This was a real photo of a deer that he had come across, and
Mhm.
and to see that neck just twisted like that. So, I think just like humans, Sasquatch is going to want to take out an animal humanely as possible. It's not going to want to torture an animal. It's going to try to make it as quick as possible and harvest that animal.
Yeah, and not only that, it would be like, humans living off grid. We're basically the same. We're gonna do the same things. We're gonna kill animals or, grow things to eat. And, just because they don't garden their own vegetables doesn't mean that they're not intelligent,
Mhm.
beings. So for me at least, I feel like they have a real high, like mindset of like how to take care of themselves and how to stay away from people. So they're very, very smart.
And
Do we give
I
them
will
enough,
say again.
do we give them enough credit for their abilities in the forest? See, my
I
problem,
personally
let
do.
me add to that, if you don't mind. My problem with Bigfoot is we don't know what it is. We know
Mhm.
it looks human-like.
Mhm.
We know that it has interaction and curiosity with humans. We
Mhm.
know that it eats animals. We don't know if it's Gigantopithecus relative. We don't know if it's alien. We don't know if it's
Mhm.
an interdimensional species, although there are weird signs that may point to something like that. The problem
Mhm.
is we don't know. How do we justify answering questions about this, myself included, if we don't
Mhm.
really know outside of following the patterns?
We have to take our best guess with the information that we have. And I think the best thing that you can do is look at yourself and look at humanity, right? As a species on Earth, humanity is a very worrying type of species. So you think of a creature out in the woods like this, and having family clans and that sort of stuff. It's going to protect itself, protect its family. So I just I would like to believe that they have as much compassion as we do as a species out there. It just
Mhm. For me, it's like, new animals and different things are being found all the time.
mm,
And it's just like finding, say, a brand new animal in the world or, something, a new fish or something. It's like, it's all about learning and researching and basically taking your best guess at like what this does or what that does. And then actually, doing that research on it or, like the data on how does it do this, how does it do that, where does it go, what is it like, it's the same thing about finding new species all the time. We're going to do our research, and that's what it's based off of. That's all we can do for now.
with respect. You have to have a lot of respect for these animals out there. Um,
Hmm.
and just give them as much latitude as you would your neighbor or anything like that. We're
Hmm.
in their home.
Absolutely.
What signs do you look for in this area? I mentioned the tree earlier, the photos that I got in my area. I'm curious for you. What kind of signs will you be looking for?
Well, for me, I always start out with, first of all, like you're looking for trails of, different, okay, animals only go up to a certain height. And then you're actually looking for signs of breakage higher than the norm. I'm always looking for tree structures, nests. Obviously, you're gonna look for, prints on the ground if you're in a good area for that. And what kind of food is around, because you do have to look for things like water. Is there a water source? what kind of animals are there? Are you looking at things above a certain height, or are you just looking at everything on the ground? But like, for instance, like what you found with the tree bent over, for me, that's a sign right away. If you're finding things that are intertwined, trees that are manipulated and moved in a certain way, regular animals aren't going to go out there and just, create that.
I get that. I can see that. We got about 2.5 minutes to go here tonight on the Cryptid Report with Jackie Harmon and Lee Strauss. When you're out there and you guys find your spot, you're going to be camping in a familiar area, you kind of do everything the same, you set your intentions, you go through with everything. What do you do to try and lure them in?
Well, we talked about doing some call blasting, and Ron Moorhead was nice enough to send me some audio, so we'll be using that. But also, lighting. I've got some crazy lighting stuff that I can deploy for nighttime. But just, Jackie's energy, my energy, our banter, our laughter, our comic relief, as we do our things. But I think laughter, for one, is huge for attracting Bigfoot, because that's a non-threatening thing. That's having fun. That's having a blast. And Bigfoot, is going to hear that and be like, oh, what have they got going on, and it's probably going to want to come in and check that out.
Because they are curious about us.
They are absolutely curious.
Cooking, smells.
There you go.
We have stuff to lay out. We're actually going to take like glow in the dark toys and put them out. We're going to have pick up some little glow in the dark, like what do you call those?
The light sticks.
And kind of set them around and see if anything gets messed with. But we're all about just like keeping it respectful, but putting things out far enough to where if they interact, we'll either hear them or see them in a very non-threatening way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's hope that you guys do come back safe, because in the end,
yeah,
an investigation is always good when you come back in one piece.
Yep.
That is very true. And I don't think Sasquatch would take too kindly to, having to fight you, especially with white shirts on.
And I don't want to be Bigfoot bait, so protect me.
Yes, indeed. Jackie Harmon, Lee Strauss, thank you for coming on the Cryptid Report tonight, and good luck this coming weekend for you and your adventures out at Mount Adams, Washington. And watch out for exploding volcanoes. That's not a fun time.
There you go.
Absolutely. Fun. Big thank you
guys on live.
Yep.
As well as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar gods himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. And soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. There we be. Just like that. Another one writes or finishes off, write it off, send it off into the sunset. Ding, ding. What time are you guys leaving tomorrow?
The following day, so Thursday morning, we're out.
We're all
Nice.
packed up and went
Yep.
and bought food, and we're just trying to get our last minute things together, and off we go.
Separate cots, I hope. Hey, you two lovebirds. Separate
Mhm.
cots.
Of course, I have my own tent in the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I hate camping.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I've grown into glamping.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I'll tell you the stupid reason why. I used to camp a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is something really cool about setting up your own camp zone with a tent and a fire and finding that perfect place for the lawn chair that isn't going to get the mosquitoes, number one, and number two, isn't going to be in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day that you see the sun breaking through the trees and it's always gets in your eyes, because you don't want that spot. I'm kind of, Sheldon from Big Bang Theory that way. And so here's the reason why I quit going camping. I toss and turn a lot at night.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, and I don't do things by years. I do it by pounds. This is about 35 pounds ago, right? And I went through probably out of 12 nights camping, I went through, I would say at minimum, 8 mattresses. Every mattress I had popped on me. I even, I'd go buy the cheap ones from Walmart for like $20. They'd explode. I'd go buy the $200 mattress. By the end of my trip, that one's toast. And I'm a guy who can't really afford a $200 mattress every time you want to go camping. Yeah. So I said, screw this. I am never camping again because I want a nice mattress that doesn't try to use me as the hot dog in between mom's bread. Because, mom never had hot dog buns. You always had to use that goddamn last bread slice.
Yeah. I use a bedroll. I mean, basically, it's just a mattress that rolls up. I will not sleep on an air mattress. Forget that. In fact, I won't even sleep on the ground anymore. I got a tensile, so I put it between 3 trees. I'm off the ground, and I just put that bedroll in there. I mean, I'm out like a baby. Forget it.
And I have to go camping this year too.
You need it. This is my first time sleeping in a, what do you call it? Tensile.
A tensile.
Tensile. So I'll tell you how that experience goes, because I'm not used to being like crawling into a tent off the ground. But I'm happy about the mattress. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I like my comfort.
I don't know if I want to camp out there though. Where we're going, it's scary at night.
The scarier, the better, Dave.
No, dude, I don't get scared at stuff, okay? I don't get scared. All right. Now, if I had like a bear charging at me, there'd be a little poo. Okay.
I agree with you on that.
There'd be a little bit of poo there. All right. But at this place, knowing what is around us at night, I am literally freaking out a little bit about camping there. I think we're only doing it one night, maybe 2. But I'm intimidated.
Car camping's not bad when you're scared. I would car camp. Yeah. Depending on what kind of car you have, but I would do that. Now, the worst camping experience I ever had was I actually went Bigfooting up in Northern California with somebody, and we joke about this now, but back then it was a horrible situation. But I actually flew up. My friend picked me up and said, "Oh, I've got all the camping stuff. Don't worry about it." And we were going camping in February in Northern California, up where the Patterson-Gimlin film was actually created. And it was -4 degrees. And this person did not even bring a tent. He brought a tarp from Harbor Freight. Covered us up with like some poles and a tarp. And believe it or not, ended up leaving me in there all night and went and slept in the truck with the heater on. But I sucked it up and I stayed out there. It was cold, but I did it.
Good for you.
Yep.
Good for you. That's awesome. Awesome.
Never again, though. I'm gonna lie, never again.
No,
We're actually gonna have beautiful weather.
Yeah, we're gonna be good stuff here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You got to do it, Dave. You know,
I'll probably end up doing it. I'll do it because my team wants me to be there. I do it for the team.
Do it for the team.
I'm a team guy, you know. Like I'm totally.
Is Merle a team guy too? He's going to keep you warm.
Oh well, he better cuddle. One second.
Are your hands going to be
good? Okay.
You know,
I'll
the
be
nice
like,
thing about Amazon is
so, yeah. That's just going to be weird. It's going to be weird. But anyhow, I'm going to let you guys go because I got some editing to do. And
have a good night.
Just do me a favor when you get out of the forest. Send me a quick note. Just let me know you guys are safe, okay?
Yeah. Well, we're going to be going live a lot, so you guys will see us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. I get that. It's just an old Davy thing for the wilderness around here is when you're going into the forest, no matter what you're doing, you always tell the person where you're going. So give me a little ring when you get back. It'll make old Davy feel better.
We sure will.
Absolutely.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you.
All right.
Have a good night.
And if you see a good T-shirt at the gas station that's extra small for Lee, pick it up for him, Jeff.
Do a flex. Give him a flex.
Love you guys. You guys are
love you, Dave. Bye.
Good night. Lee and Jackie. What an amazing, amazing set of friends. We got a lot of good friends around here on Spaced Out Radio. That's what makes it all worth it. It really does. Thank you tonight to Obi Flett, Dutch Hank, Cat Chaser, Big Dog, Joe, and Tim for the super chats. Thank you all for tuning us in. And tomorrow night, say it with me, people. Say it with me. Merle. 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 Say it with me. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Merle.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.